So today we're reviewing.
Wrath of Man.
We saw Wrath of Man a couple hours ago, and the synopsis is the plot follows H, a cold and mysterious character working at a cash truck company responsible for moving hundreds of millions of dollars around Los Angeles each week.
Fortis.
Wait, what?
That was the company, Fortis.
Oh, yeah. We saw Wrath of Man, and this is a movie that was recommended by our dad to go see, and it was not one I was anticipating on seeing, but we went and saw it. So, what is your initial thoughts of Wrath of Man?
I mean, my knowledge of this movie before going into it, I think I had seen the trailer in the theater a couple times, now that I think about it. But other than that, I really knew nothing about it outside of the fact that Jason Statham, was it Jason Statham?
Jason Statham.
Jason Statham was in it, and obviously he's a great actor. He was great in Hobbs and Shaw. I definitely think he's a phenomenal actor, and I definitely enjoy movies that he's in. But I had no expectations going into it, so I didn't really know how to feel as it began. But leaving the theater, I definitely enjoyed certain parts of it, and it was I thought it was an okay movie. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad in any way, really. As you'll hear, some of the negatives, I think, are kind of the storyline, and just not the storyline, but just how they really execute it and just put it all together in one movie. But I thought it was an okay movie, and there was definitely some things to like about it. But I'll say it was that was an okay movie.
Yeah, this movie, I kind of have some mixed thoughts about it. I want to say it's on the positive side for the most part, but I really had some major problems with this movie. I thought it was fine, but there's a lot of things that I have a lot of critiques about the movie, and so I definitely would say that it's not. There's some positives, but I'd say I'm leaning more towards more negatives out of the movie because there's just a lot of stuff that kind of bother me. But yeah, there's definitely good things. There's things to like about it. But why don't we get into our positives about the movie first?
I think one of the positives for me was just I think in some ways it's a positive and a negative. It's the way that it has you guessing on what's going on, and you're trying to figure out what's going to happen next, which I think is a good thing in movies. You shouldn't really know everything that's going to happen in the future.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that can be a negative if there's too much stuff going on and you're going back and forth with time, because I guess that's a spoiler when we get into that right now. But I'll say that there were some good action sequences. The emotion was there with what's driving the main character. His reasoning behind what he's doing was definitely felt there. I thought there were some really cool scenes with Jason Statham and just his overall power. I liked how so many around him would just like listen to him. I thought it was pretty cool how what they were doing. They were taking out bad people, and there were some cool sequences with that. And I would also say I'm kind of a big fan of heist movies now that I've seen so many. There's a movie called The Town that's great. And obviously I'm not rooting for people to steal money in real life, but seeing it in the theater is just kind of cool because all the thought that goes into it, how risk-taking, how dangerous it is, and those kinds of movies I feel like I enjoy no matter what. But I think they pulled that off in a different way because there's so many movies out there that have done breaking into a bank, breaking into a different money place, and this is a new one for me. At least I think the way that they take over money trucks, as it said in the synopsis. Yeah. So I thought it was a cool twist on that. But that's probably the positives for me, and the music was good. It was really good too.
Yeah, the music was good. That's one positive. Yeah, I think the main positive is Jason Statham. He's perfect for this role. The role he plays in this movie, he really is just the perfect character for this. He's kind of a dry, emotionless character, but you understand why once you see the movie. There's actual reason for it. And I'd say the action is good. The sound effects are good. Those are things I liked about it. In particular, when guns are being fired, it is really. I think that was done very well. There's some great action scenes, and the main character's good. There's some good supporting characters, and the villain is fine. But I'd say those are probably most of the positives that I have with the movie. Why don't we just get into our negatives about the film?
I think the negatives we really can't talk about too much in the non-spoiler. I would just say the storyline gets a little too confusing at times, and there's still questions that I have now after leaving the theater, hours after. And I would also say there's too many characters. There's a point towards the end of the movie where there's so many characters on screen, and it's too much. I think they really could have cut out a few characters completely, and it would not have affected the movie at all. Yeah. And I felt like there was a lot of pointless scenes thinking back now, because when characters
I agree
are
with
finished
that.
off in certain ways, it makes you think, why was that even a scene earlier, and like what were they hinting at? But I think there was too many characters and a little bit too confusing with their use of time jumps back and forth. Because I mean, this isn't the first movie to do that, but they did not do it in the best way. I think with how they jump back and forth way too much without. Sometimes they don't even give you the title card of where you're at.
Yeah, I think the main negatives are definitely the flow. The flow of the movie seems like it was going well, but then it just gets really weird with different stuff happening. The pointless scenes is definitely a point to make because there are some scenes, thinking back, I'm like, why was that a scene? Like weird scenes, awkward scenes that make absolutely no sense thinking back to it. That I know sometimes movies, they want to make it to where you don't know what's going to happen. There's some really weird, pointless scenes. I don't know why we're in the movie. There's just there's way too much going on at the same time at certain parts, cutting back and forth from different time jumps.
Runtime was 2 hours and 1 minute, and really this should have been, I think, an hour and 45. You could have cut out easily 15 minutes with certain scenes taking out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it did feel long. I'm not gonna lie. I felt it dragging on at one point, and I definitely think it could have been cut down. But mainly just cutting back and forth from time, from somewhere before the movie, earlier, cutting back was kind of getting annoying, and then also not knowing which characters were which at certain points, which I can't really get into. But why don't we get into our scores and final thoughts of the movie?
Like you mentioned earlier, I think it definitely is above average. Because as you know, with my score, anything above a 5 is average, and below is below average. And like I said at the start of this review, I thought I enjoyed a lot from this film, and it was a okay time for me at the theaters. The more I think about it, I'd probably have to give Wrath of Man a 6.5. I would give Wrath of Man a 6.5. Like I said, for me, 5 is average, so it's above average. There's some good stuff in here to like. Very confusing at times and too many characters, but the music was great. The storyline I thought was really, really good. And again, I like heist movies, so I would give this a solid 6.5, nothing below that. But I'd probably go with a 6.5 for this film.
Yeah, it's weird. I've been kind of going back and forth between a 6 to a 7. I was kind of going back, and I was thinking about doing a 6.5, but, I'll probably give this a 6 out of 10. Because I think there's just a lot of things that bother me about this movie. And obviously not every movie is going to be great. I give every movie the benefit of the doubt, especially a movie like this that doesn't have, political stuff in it.
Yeah,
I definitely
it had none of that. So
yeah. So I definitely give the benefit of the doubt. I go into every single movie wanting to like it because I'm paying money for it, But there's just so many things that bother me about this movie. The storyline was just off. I was very frustrated with the time jumps and getting lost and stuff. And this movie had a lot of potential, and there's some positives about it. But I think a 6 out of 10 is the proper score for Wrath of Man.
Yeah, so that was our non-spoiler review of Wrath of Man. If you want to stick around for the spoilers discussion, stay tuned for that video to come out shortly after this. So go check it out. Let us know what you think of this movie for yourself, and if you want to see it in theaters. But if not, then you can't really critique our opinion on it. So.
I can't really say I'd recommend it, but if you're going to see it, make sure you let us know.
I would say if you like heist movies, give it a shot. But if you're not into those types of movies, then maybe don't check it out.
If you like Jason Statham, you'll probably like it.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys We'll see you guys either in the spoilers discussion or the next video. Bye, guys. So welcome to the spoilers discussion.
Yeah. So this is the spoilers discussion for Wrath of Man. There
I mean,
are a lot of spoilers in this movie
and
because there's a lot of deaths.
And there's really no way to talk about the deaths individually because the names, no one's going to know the names except for maybe
we don't need to go into each one.
I guess
we can
just
kind
get
of
to the main
stuff.
one. So I guess the biggest spoilers for me is basically everyone dies for the most part outside
Basically
Jason Statham
everyone.
and his main group that he works for. That's the thing. We don't really know
Even his
who he
main
works
group dies.
for. Well,
So
the bearded guy, the one guy with the glasses, the guy who was on a motorcycle accident, none of those guys died.
2 guys?
But as far as outside of that, everyone in the Fortis station, the money getting station, basically dies except for the guy with the glasses. Scott Eastwood is in the film, which I had no idea about.
I saw his name at the start and I was like, did he produce it? And then I realized he was the villain.
And in my mind, for me, I didn't really like the fact that he was the bad guy in the film because
he doesn't seem like a good
He's
villain.
a good guy in almost every movie I've seen. That's just not his persona, which is a good thing for him. But the fact that he was the one.
Line.
How many damn toppings do you need?
Need my toppings be, man. They're missing my damn toppings.
Yeah, but the fact that he's the one that killed his son, killed other guys. Literally, he's a horrible person. He's killing people left and right, his own people, to get more money at the end. They make him out to be this horrible guy, and he's the villain of the film, which I didn't really like that decision. I wish it was somebody like more annoying. Like, it's really that role could have been built for someone else so much better than him. I think they could have had him in the film as like I think one of his sidekicks maybe, but
Yeah.
that was kind of one of the big spoilers there. And then the Bullet character, who was I thought kind of annoying and weird from the beginning, which because the way he was acting just something seemed off with me for him the entire time. I know our dad thought he was actually someone who he didn't expect to be the one working with the bad guys in the end, but he was.
Yeah.
Because he was in the middle of this Fortis station, like he's like the manager of the driver division of this company, but he basically turns on everyone, and he was even more annoying. I think he was way more annoying than Scott Eastwood because he was killing people in the most annoying way. He was telling the one guy who you grew attached to a little bit to come out to help him out. He just shoots him off camera, off screen. He kills the girl, the other guy back there behind the car. I mean, he killed a lot of people that were on it that he like was friends with. I don't understand. I really
Gain
don't
their
understand
trust
it.
to get the money, but then he ends up killing everyone else. So
Yeah.
it's a major greed to be able to kill those people you're working with.
Yeah.
Which that motivation, I really didn't see where that came from. He get that crazy to
Yeah.
kill all those guys.
Did not feel bad when he was killed by Scott Eastwood at the end.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing.
He was
I mean,
gonna kill him.
It's basically a big spoiler. Is the main bad guy group? They're all working together to steal this money,
Yeah.
and ultimately they pull a Joker, Dark Knight,
Yeah.
Joker intro scene. They all start killing each other, and then it's last man standing because they don't trust each other
Right.
at all,
Um,
which is very different from the Town heist movie where they're all working together. They're
Right.
like brothers. This, they're just out for blood or
And
just money hungry.
To the credit of the film, they do say the one guy like after he's dead, they go back to like a flashback. I did like that part of the heist at the end was they were showing their like planning while it was happening, which I thought was kind
Yeah.
of cool because they were just showing how like well executed it was, which is why I like these kind of movies so much because of the thought that goes in to every single thing that they do to get to the money and get it out without getting killed.
Well, I thought it was
'Cause that
fine
guy-
until he was dead. I thought it was confusing. Once he was dead
But no,
talking, I was like,
that's
that's
not-
just weird.
But that sounded great though because he even said, "Listen, like I forget what his name was exactly. Scott Eastwood's character, Jan. Yeah, Jan. He was like, Jan's the one I'm worried about because he was like,
He'll do his mission.
He said he'll do his mission. Because he even said himself like he's a soldier. He's a warrior. He'll follow his orders and get it done. But then one guy's like, when there's that much money, it can change anyone. It can turn people really really bad, which I think is really true in real life. I mean, think about it. If you were, I'm not saying you would do this yourself, but like, I mean, when there's like what 160 million dollars with one person you don't really know right there, and you could just kill them to get all of it. I mean,
when you have a
you're
bunch of bad
guy,
guys that are just bad money hungry,
Yeah.
that's why
and they've been
the
doing
Town,
that
they're
for,
like actually families.
and they've been doing that so many times. So that amount of money, either getting half or all of it, I'm not justifying it, but I'm just saying from his point of view, they alluded to that, and he even said like he'll follow the orders, and he was saying that after he'd already been killed by that guy. So,
Where they go back and forth, like 3 different angles of the one event, and that's where it threw me off.
yeah, so you're right. So like basically, the film starts out with this main incident, and you don't really see the son get killed at the beginning.
To angle
which-
1 of 4.
right. But like you see that, then it starts from him getting the job at Fortis, killing the first group that's trying to take over, and then you find out from there that he's trying to find someone, which I kind of realized. I figured he was doing this for some reason. He was not just taking this job randomly. And then it goes back to show the situation from his point of view, and then how he was working with his group. Which again, this is where it gets too confusing because I don't really know who he's working for in the first place. Because
He gets a
originally,
call from
when he gets
someone.
into this issue, his friend, the guy with the beard, says, "I need you to like do something for me because this guy got into an accident," which is true. He actually did get into an accident, so he needed him to go to this place and figure out which way this truck was going. But I think this is what ended up happening. I think I'm just not figuring it right now. So, like they were planning their next job on getting a money truck, and he needed to say which way are they going. Which that was it. Like I don't think his group was actually going to attack that day. But then when they left, the other group that was already doing it was already taking care of it right then and there.
Because I thought he
So
said
he
the
didn't-
wrong direction on purpose. Like,
No,
didn't he say
you're right.
left and when they said right?
He said left and right. He said left or right, and then he said ladder. The ladder, meaning like when you said the ladder part of it, like the last thing you said.
Yeah, okay.
But I think what happened was was I don't think his group was supposed. They weren't hitting that truck right then and there. Like that was the construction group working with the guy from Fortis. Just happened to be at the same exact time in the wrong place, wrong
Okay.
time. So if that was his own group, then I was like, how is he literally talking to these people at all when they killed his son? But then those people in construction hats who are the military
Well, I know,
group,
yeah.
they weren't a part of his team at all. So that actually makes more sense now that I think about it.
It would
But
have
again,
to, because that one guy, if he was working with him, then why would he be so surprised or
that
almost get killed when the guys pull him over? And
and then also the fact that there would have been no search needed if that was his own team. It would have
well,
been
yeah,
someone part of it.
it should
So,
have been like.
but see,
let's
that's the
get
thing is, I'm just now realizing that what time is it right now? Like almost midnight. And almost 11 o'clock, midnight, and I'm just not realizing this. And we saw this at 3 o'clock. Once again, movies can be confusing in some ways, but it
They
should
don't
be
have to,
this
you know,
confusing.
They don't have to like spell everything out, but
Yeah.
they should be a little more.
So that
But-
makes a little more sense as far as what happened there, because then that leads into him and his group working on trying to find who this person is, who killed who, and they're they basically find one guy who they don't kill, but he he says a name. I don't really know who he said, or did he say the name of the people they found next?
He just said the name of some absolute pig. I don't
think
know
it was the people
what.
that he shot. They shot later.
Well,
Remember
it's just the people in that room.
remember the next place they're at? There's like a naked guy, and there's
Yeah,
like
that's
something-
what I'm saying.
is that- I think that's
it was
what they
just that
said.
pig, and it was just totally
Right.
unrelated. But I did want to mention one thing is a big appearance for someone I did not expect to see in a movie like this. Post Malone is in this movie, which was just so
He's
surprising.
one of the military guys.
He was just one of those a-holes that were trying to rob the truck. The first truck that was robbed, he was the guy. I remember he said like he chased him down and shot him.
Oh, that's
But
okay,
that was
okay.
the scene. That was probably my favorite scene out of the movie that I couldn't talk about non-spoiler. Is when he's throwing the bags in the
Yeah.
truck, and he throws one purposely off to the side. And they're like, "Don't ever do that again." So he pretends to throw one of the bags and shoots the guy like right as he throws the bag, which was
Like
definitely
I made a
the
jump.
best action scene. Yeah, 'cause I was trying to think what was going to happen. It was going to throw a grenade or something, but that was a really good scene. Shoots
Yeah.
that guy. Unrealistically shoots the other two guys like perfectly, then chases Post Malone's character down and shoots him there.
Yeah.
I thought that was the best action scene, and if there
It was a good
were
one.
some other ones good like that at the end, then this movie might have been a higher score. But
And we've already
That was
talked
probably
about
the
a lot of the
best.
confusing scenes. Not one we really talked about was when his own group is about to rob the Fortis truck that he's on. You would think they wouldn't do that. They wouldn't be that dumb to basically hit the Fortis truck that their own guys driving. Because when he gets out of the truck, they look at each other and they're like, "Oh shoot, this is our
yeah, they were.
this is our own guy," and then they just leave. That's why it was a funny scene, I'll say, in the theater when they just said, like they kept cutting back and forth, which just was fine in some ways, but in other ways it was almost like weird cuts, like way too quick. Like remember when they showed the dead faces? It just like cut away like within like a millisecond.
They were pointing a gun at him though. Still,
but then
why were they doing that?
well they didn't see who it was till like the smoke had cleared out. But all I know is
Pulling
that
hostage
I just
for-
know like when they when that scene happened, it just cut immediately to him talking to his boss and the Fortis company owner, and he's like, they just walked away, and he's like, because that makes zero sense.
Oh yeah, that was weird. I
Yeah.
thought that was really weird.
But it was kind of funny how like they just said that he's like.
Yeah.
The one guy thinks he's like a legend, or like people are so afraid of him that they're just not even gonna, like when they see him they just run away, but they didn't realize that.
Well, yeah, they were trying to
they were
play a
working
John
together on
Wick
that.
there, but
But they didn't realize like deep down like it was the reason why they ran away is because they didn't want to. They were like they're friends, like they didn't want to kill each other. Then
But
once
there's-
again, another thing to our credit, there's too many characters. Too
wait,
many
I mean,
characters.
there are just so many. Trying to go through the cast list, there's
The
just
girl.
so many flipping characters. It's
She
ridiculous.
could have been in it, but she didn't need to be a big role because that leads to a whole storyline. What did that lead to when he goes to her house? And I really thought he was gonna kill her in
Yeah,
some ways.
that was a weird scene. He was over at the house with Dana.
The one that
She was over with Dana, and he like wakes up in the middle of the night and finds that she's hiding cash, and she admits she stole it. And I'm like, so is this? I thought were we going into a whole storyline where this whole bank,
yeah.
or
I
this,
thought
this
it was
whole
something
like
deeper with that.
money moving
Yeah.
company, the whole thing's corrupt. He's gonna kill everyone. But then later,
Everyone's fine
You don't
except for
know.
Bullet. Everyone's fine except for Bullet.
yeah, so you don't know,
Well,
but
see-
you really don't know. You assume maybe all of them were hiding cash,
Which,
maybe,
I
maybe
mean-
not. You don't know.
Yeah.
But like, what if?
They always say what if, but they always say what if.
But I mean,
But
like,
no, but you're
they
right,
don't
but
actually answer.
the only
they
bad
just
one-
open up like a can of worms that maybe they're all
Yeah.
corrupt, but then they'll end up dying anyway.
Yeah,
so you won't even ever know.
The only bad one from Fortis was Bullet at the end, because at the end he kills everyone except for himself. So he was
Well,
the
you
only
know.
he was the only corrupt one. Because during that scene when all the crap's going down, obviously the girl was trying to help out. Like I thought the guy that she was with, the other guy with like the one eye, the guy with the mustache, they were all super afraid and like trying to help out. And they all in some ways I thought were gonna like team up and help Jason Statham out, but they get killed the most annoying way possible.
The one-eyed guy was
But-
dumb as crap.
Well, he was being dumb. Again, I thought he knew something more because as soon as he started to shoot, that's when Jason Statham like started his attack. And in my mind, remember he was like laying there for like forever, and then finally once that one eye guy took a shot, then he got up to cut his thing and like strangled the one guy. I'm like, okay, so maybe he talked to these guys and they were gonna help him out with this moment. But then like a minute or two later, Bolt walks over to where they're at behind that truck. And he's like, give me a gun. And he kills him the most annoying way possible. And then he kills the guy who you grow attached to in some ways in the short time he's on screen. Because like he took a
I
shot
thought he was gonna be a character
in
arc or
his
something.
chest, and he like I didn't understand why they kept showing him like getting up off the ground. Like it's going to lead to something. It didn't lead to anything. It just led to him maybe killing one of the military guys. But then he tells him to come out, and he gets killed. So
Well, they were in
That was
these
an annoying
effing
death as
invincible
well.
suits that
A
no
lot
one
of-
could pierce. I mean, that kind of made the thing frustrating. I mean,
yeah, so it's just very confusing. A lot of annoying deaths, a lot of things that lead up to nothing, and then in the end, in some ways, I think that the final death was very anticlimactic because like he got to where he killed his son, and I mean, I guess in some ways John Wick did the same thing when he found the guy who killed his dog. It's not he does anything too crazy, he just shoots him.
yeah,
But-
I mean,
But still, that was but they ended the movie a lot of different ways. Like there was a lot of cool. There's some boss scenes in that movie with him
Yeah.
running across a club in like a towel. But like this one, I just think that
can't top that.
knowing what he did, I don't know. He did shoot him in the same spots that I guess he shot his son. But I just thought that was a very dull way that it ended. When it's the end of the movie, you just got to end with a big difference. I don't know. I just didn't. It was kind of a dull ending in my mind. They do say like, I mean, obviously this doesn't justify them stealing money, but they're like, if we hit this job,
This is the last one.
this will be the last one for ourselves and our kids as well. So they do have some kind of motivation to help get their kids money, which again isn't good to steal from
Yeah.
anything. But then again, you got Scott Eastwood who's just living in like a warehouse type looking thing. He has like a huge bike. He's a totally horrible person. But once again, I don't buy that. Even all the things that he did. Like, if you kill someone's son in that type of way, and you do the kind of things that he did, you should
You
be
hate him.
infuriated about that character. Like, so many movies, like, what's it called? 12 Strong, that main terrorist. Like, you were
Yeah.
wanting to, like, jump through the
Or
screen.
the John Wick guys. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
but, like, the 12 Strong one, I still remember watching that in the theater. That final scene, like, I wanted to jump through the screen myself and take the guy so they could kill him. Like, were you mad at all at Scott Eastwood? Even when they killed him, like, I didn't feel anything.
I just keep thinking
I
about
didn't care.
the. I just kept thinking about the.
How many damn toppings do you need?
I just really though, it's not his acting because I think he in like Suicide Squad, Pacific Rim,
Yeah,
he
it's
was
not
great.
acting.
I just think as a
the
villain,
role.
I just don't think it works. I just don't think he can be in that kind of position where you
Yeah.
like want to. You have to get to the point where you hate him. Actor, nothing against the acting. I just think as a villain, I just don't. It didn't work at least.
Which is good. I mean, it means he has a good persona about him. He's
Well,
really
I
a
mean,
good character.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, just because you're good at acting a villain doesn't mean you're a bad guy. I mean, just able
No,
to
that's
play
what I
the
just
part.
said. I told you the terrorist from 12 Strong obviously isn't a freaking terrorist.
Yeah, but
But he looked like he
just
did a
that
dang good job.
it's not good that you're not convincingly a bad character when you need to be a bad character. But
Anyways,
I mean-
that was our spoilers discussion of Wrath of Man.
Raging
There was
Wrath.
also some weird. One last thing. There were some weird like subtitles between scenes of like random things. One was like bad animals, bad.
yes,
I did not
Dark
understand
Spirit.
that. Even the intro was showing weird animals. I thought it was like the company, because usually like different companies, they show like the companies that make the film and they have different like logos.
I don't
but
know what those quotes.
I don't
were.
know what the quotes were, what they were quoting there.
Dark Spirit.
But maybe it just went over my head and I just didn't realize what it was. But like I said, in the non-spoiler review, I gave it a 6.5 out of 10. Kenny gave it a 6 out of 10. Anything else that we forgot, let us know down in the comments, and we can always continue this conversation in a different video if you want to hear more. But if not, that was our spoilers discussion of Wrath of Man. And that's it. So we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.